Welcome to the Resellers Podcast with Tech and Sports and Daily Refinement. We've helped thousands of people save time and make more money by improving their online stores. Check out patreon.com/the Resellers Podcast for thousands of hours of full-length ad-free podcasts and coaching calls. Join our Facebook group with thousands of sellers making the transition from hobby to business. See you in the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Resellers Podcast with Tech and Sports and Daily Refinement. We are almost to episode 100. Maybe we'll do something special for you guys next month when we hit that magical 100 number. Almost 2 years of doing this. Today, we want to talk about the fact that if you don't have a set listing goal and a schedule, you're never done, which is not a good feeling, not a good place to be. But also, eBay and e-commerce in general is 24/7. You actually gave an analogy to Times Square, which I thought was pretty accurate. I guess we could start there.
Yeah, that's like the gift and the curse of selling online. You know, everybody wants to sell on eBay to have that freedom, but you know, there is no clock out time when it comes to eBay. eBay is 24/7, 365, holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, it doesn't matter. There's still customers that come to the platform. We still make sales, and there's still people that we have to serve, whether we need to ship, customer service questions, keeping up with our listings and everything like that. So I think when we were talking, like, you know, from my brick and mortar store, like it closes at 8 o'clock at night. There's no more customers. Everyone gets to go home. They're done with the day. But essentially, eBay is a brick and mortar store in the middle of Times Square, the busiest crossroads in the world. And that's what we've signed up to do. So, you know, a lot of people do, like, you know, you like to turn yours off at 5 o'clock and then join it back again the next day. But, you know, technically speaking, that does stunt your sales and stunt your business, because you are losing out on those offers that do come in. You are losing out on people that do have a message that if you answer it the correct way for them, they will make that purchase. Like they're standing at the cash register, but like they're gone by tomorrow morning. They may have moved on or buy something else, or they don't log on for a week. So, you know, everyone just needs to find that balance of exactly, you know, what they're capable of and how they want to run their eBay business. Because, you know, if you're always on your phone every 10 minutes responding to an offer or question, are you really present? So, you know, the work-life balance is difficult. You know, most people have more balance than work. But, you know, you can run a healthy life, healthy business, healthy family when you are selling on eBay. It just takes discipline. And it just takes, you know, having those processes in place so that when you do have to do something, it's very quick and efficient.
I agree with that. When you have your processes in check, you can do multiple rounds of customer service when you have extra time. So, you know, myself waiting in line or stuck in traffic, and this is probably not safe, but if it's completely dead at traffic, I actually know how to respond to customers while I'm waiting. Waiting in line, definitely, I'm never idle. When you have your set list of things that you do, you knock that out multiple times a day. Essentially, what you're doing is you're doing tomorrow's work now. And that's the definition of being proactive to me, is just nip it in the butt immediately. When you see all these things coming in, if you have time, just take care of it, because you're just essentially making it easier for your future self. And it has to eventually get done. When I look at the customer perspective, this morning was a great example of thinking about how much money you want to make for each item is not the best way to look at it, because every single item has an individual price that somebody out there is looking for. So when you run a discount, you can't mark your item up and then mark the discount down. The price is the same to the customer. That won't work. So I think that looking at it from the customer's perspective as, I want to answer questions as soon as possible. I want the item delivered as soon as possible. When you think of it that way, you understand when you turn your store off, when you go to sleep, all those customers, when you're asleep, are getting a worse experience than the people during the day that you're answering to. And it is what it is, but you have to understand that. And I feel like that unlocks it a lot for me. People don't understand what happens when they don't answer customer service or don't answer an offer immediately. The quality of the customer experience goes down, and that is what it is. But that, if you understand that, I feel like you're in a better place.
Yeah. And, you know, I believe that if you are answering questions quickly, you are responding to offers quickly, I think that eBay is going to funnel you more traffic to a store that is reacting as quick as
Yep.
possible versus, someone who might not log in today, might not be here tomorrow. And then on the third day, they get around to logging back into eBay and looking at their messages or looking at their offers. If you don't log in for 2 or 3 days, that offer has come and gone. It's already been expired and it's been declined. So that customer has either moved on to someone else to shop from, or they've moved on from the platform altogether and now are shopping on Amazon or Grailed or, Etsy or a different website, which that's, eBay's worst fears when a customer moves on to a different platform, especially because they receive no response from a seller. So, they send out questionnaires to sellers. I'm sure they send out questionnaires to buyers, and probably not responsive is probably one of the most frustrating things for a buyer, aside from getting something that's not as described and then they have to return it because it's not as described. But probably no response to either a message or an offer has to be one of the most frustrating things as a buyer. Like if you went to a brick and mortar store and you greeted the customer every time they come in and asked them what they needed help with, you would convert that customer way more than if you walked into a brick and mortar store and the person was on their phone or reading a newspaper. They didn't even lift up their head or acknowledge you, and you just went in the store. You would probably end up leaving, especially if you had a question or a concern. So, all of those questions and concerns, you have to deal with them as quick as possible if you do want, maximum results. But if you do make your listings as quality as possible and fill out everything that's needed, it will cut down on the customer questions. And like, that was the biggest thing for me for a long time. So, in the beginning, like, you don't really know what to do or how to make your listing. So like, you're not doing it correctly. So you're getting all kinds of messages like, oh, is this supposed to be like that? What is this? How do I do this and that? And you get way more questions. But once you really, get into how exactly you're going to list your items. Like for me, the most common question that I get every single day is, do you combine shipping? And that's the best question that I want. And absolutely. So I walk them through exactly how, the combined shipping process works. But aside from that, I have to say I probably get 5 to 7 questions that are just random about the item. Every other question is just about combined shipping. So like, for a store my size, if the listings aren't done or if they don't have enough information, you could potentially get, 20, 50, 100 messages every single day. And that's a time suck. That's a lot of attention that needs to be paid to customer service. So, making those quality listings and making sure all the information is in the listing will definitely help cut down on your customer service.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about this site, Greg Morris Cards. They've sold 5.5 million items on eBay, and they have customer service agents 24/7. So if you have 3 people working 8 hours a day on the shift, you can actually answer questions in real time almost all day. I think your analogy of somebody on their phone is perfect, because you can have an eBay store where someone is cheerful at the front of the store saying hello, and you wanted that neon sign. I forgot what you wanted to say.
Yeah. Basically, how like Linda Stuff and those older like mega stores, they have like their store logo on search.
Mm-hmm.
I want one that says open for business, flashing neon light on search. So that way customers know you're there, rather than, I don't know if this person has logged on for 2 days and I don't know if they're going to ship my item for 5 days after. So like if they put a green button, like I'm open for business, and it flashes in the search, I'm all for it, because I answer questions immediately as quick as possible. Even while you were asking that question, I answered 2 questions while you were asking that, and nobody even noticed. So like, I try to answer as quick as possible. And if they have the I'm home button, I'm first in line. I'll vote for that one.
Yeah. I'm home, I'm available were the 2 things that you had mentioned on previous podcasts.
Yeah.
And I'm home, or like available now. That's an interesting. Also, they could put seller responds immediately, or the average time that the seller responds.
That would be great,
Because
that will convert more.
Yeah,
that will convert more if a customer knows you're there, you're attentive. If there's an issue, you're there. You're not going to disappear. They don't have to wait a week. Like if a customer knows you're there, ready and willing to answer, that will convert more sales, which will lead to eBay making more money on final value fees. But like that's that double-edged sword of like, you know, you're always there. You're always open. You always have that flashing light that says, I'm open for business. When do you ever get finished? When does it end? When does it stop?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a double-edged sword because when your store gets big, when you're done shipping, there's new shipments. When you're done answering questions, there's new questions. It's really interesting looking at the customer service and the shipping cycle. When you get to a certain point, it's pretty much every few minutes you get a question or a sale, and it never is ending. So I think the best you can do is to set the amount of time that you're going to do it. And I think that just like I think eBay works better if you do it 7 days a week for less hours, I think that because of the way eBay is set up, it makes sense to handle customer service for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe like up to 5 or 10 times a day, all the way up to bedtime, because that makes more sense. If that's what your occupation is, if your occupation is online store owner, it makes sense to spread it out. And because you're online store owner, maybe you get 3 hours with your family in the morning. That's not a normal 9 to 5.
Right.
So you could answer your customer service, do your shipping, hang out with your kid for 3 hours. But maybe because of that, you can now answer customer service at 8 p.m. And now you have a leg up on the big store that doesn't do that.
But like no one looks at it at from that point of view. Like because you're online store owner, like there's 2 schedules for an eBay seller. Mm-hmm. One is shipping, sourcing, photo, listing. Yep. That's one schedule. Mm-hmm. You can have a set schedule for that. There's no excuse why you can't have a set schedule for that. Mm-hmm. The other schedule of responding to offers, customer service, things like that, that schedule might never end. That schedule might be open to close, wake up till you go to sleep. That's one part of being an online store owner. The second part, like you said, is if you get a call from your kid at elementary school that they need to be picked up because they're not feeling well, you just go.
Just go.
Like you don't have to ask a boss. If your kid has a play or a baseball game, you just go. Yep. You don't have to ask your boss. Like there's a lot of pros to having an online store that like we never get credit for, but like we always get bashed on like, oh, well, you know, where's the work-life balance? The work-life balance is I've never had to ask my boss if I can go watch my son's baseball game. Mm-hmm. But like, did I respond to an offer like between innings or like during downtime? Sure. Mm-hmm. But like, I'm still at the baseball game. We're there. I'm not stuck at work. But there's a lot of jobs and my jobs in the past where, you know, I would have missed the entire game. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, there's 2 schedules that we have to uphold. And one is what we have to do every single day. And then on top of that, there's other stuff that like, you know, we touch on all the time, but like we don't really slot in on a regular basis, like, you know, consolidating your warehouse, doing your numbers, you know, doing extra research or homework, staying up on what's going on with the platform. All of that stuff is like work, and all of that stuff we still have to do. And like, we spend hours a month consolidating the warehouse, but like, where's that factored in on your eBay schedule? So like the main core, shipping, sourcing, photo, and listing, non-negotiable, but like some days when you're done listing, you have to go consolidate your storage. And that takes time. And like, maybe that day you don't finish at 4 o'clock. You got to work till 6 because you have to consolidate your storage.
Mm-hmm. I think the more money you want to make with reselling, the more on call you have to be. If you are a high level surgeon or a high level, like I think of pitching, there's like the closer person.
Yeah.
That person.
There's a lot of different ones. They even have a left-handed specialist. They only come in and face left-handed batters.
Yeah. It's interesting. The specialists, they're on call.
Yeah.
And they make more than the generalist. But you have to be available anytime.
Right. Even the plumber that you call at 2 o'clock in the morning,
yep.
He makes more than the plumber you call at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, definitely. That 24-hour service that you provide pays off. and it's just different. Depends on what kind of seller you are. But I'm an online store owner. It's not unusual it's really not unusual in most jobs to have to go in if there's a problem. That's not that strange. There's only a few jobs that really, when you clock out, that's it. You don't have to go back. And those jobs don't pay anything.
Dude, even when I worked at CVS, I had to go in when there was a problem.
Yeah.
If someone didn't show up, call this guy, go in.
Yeah.
If we got a big truck and it was 8 pallets instead of 6, call this guy. He's got to come in.
Yeah.
And like, there's no excuse. Like, you get called, you go in.
Yeah.
You don't get to say, well, it's my day off and I already worked 5 days. It doesn't matter. We got 8 pallets. We were supposed to get 6. We need help.
Mm-hmm.
There's if you don't come in, then you face the repercussions. And like, I didn't get barely a pat on the back for that.
Yeah. But imagine you had a store and it had best offer turned on, like a brick and mortar store. And then you just tell, like, the person's been waiting at the cashier for 9 hours. They've already left.
Can you imagine how patient of a person has to wait at the register for 9 hours to get a response from the person who's just on his phone scrolling right in front of him?
I know. So it is interesting looking at it, and how you handle customer service is really interesting. I think that the way that you organize it, just as the response comes into your email and you respond to them one by one, I think that is, that's efficient for handling all the different requests for your time all day.
Yeah. So what I do is I always have a tab open on my browser that has my email, and this email is dedicated for eBay only. So like, if this email rings, it pertains to money. It pertains to a sale, an offer, a message, or something like that. There's no like, spam. There's nothing like that. There's no social media stuff coming through. It's only eBay specific. So that browser stays open the whole time. And that browser is also connected to my phone. So, through the email, you can respond to a message, less than 30 seconds every single time, real quick, from your phone and from the computer. But if I didn't have that email browser open, I wouldn't know when messages were sent or offers were sent unless I physically went onto ebay.com to check and to see if there were any messages or offers. So, as far as that goes, like when I wake up in the morning, the wake up routine, we talk about it all the time in the group. Go to the seller hub, messages, offers, cancellations, returns, resolution center, send invoices. And then, I'm ready to rock and roll for the day. But throughout the whole day, when the messages and offers come in, I try to respond immediately as possible. The only time I don't respond immediately is if I'm asleep or in the shower. That's pretty much the only time where it doesn't get an immediate response. But, that's not out of the ordinary. Like for me, I've been doing that for 13 years. Like that's part of what I am now, is always, as soon as something pops up, I respond to it immediately. And like by doing it immediately, like I can respond to an offer or a message while I walk up the stairs. But if I don't respond to offers or messages for 8 hours, now it's a whole thing. Now it takes an hour to respond to it because I have to sit down and do it. But like while I'm walking out to the car, I can respond to an offer. I can respond to a message, rather than making it a whole ordeal of a dedicated process of sitting down and knocking out all of these messages and offers hours late. And perhaps the customer has probably moved on.
This is really key here because even when I first started, I would get annoyed with questions or offers. And then when I really broke it down to how long it takes, it's like under 10 seconds. So for me, when I was doing the example, I answered 28 questions, I think 6 offers, a combined shipping question. Somebody asked a question where I needed to go get the item, and it was like 3 minutes to answer all of these things.
Not a huge deal, no.
So I think that if like this, I see this happen. Like someone says, well, I sat down to dinner and I got an offer, and then I answered the offer at the kitchen table. This is like kind of a point of contention because some people have their eBay ringer on, and you can just choose. Like it honestly takes 5 minutes to answer every single question. You can do that before dinner if you want to take a break. Put your phone away during dinner, handle it after. I just think some people kind of drag out their customer service, do all the customer service in one sitting. And It's really refreshing. You get a small break before the next set of questions that you answer.
So like you said, you used to look at the messages kind of like the annoying, but like
Yep.
now you've changed that where like I welcome every message.
Yep.
Like that's interest in the item. That's my opportunity to close the sale. That's my opportunity to thank a buyer. And that's what I did. The 2 messages I answered during this, it was 2 customers that told me thank you. It took me 4 seconds to write TY enter. Thank you. That's it.
That's
like
it.
You don't have to go all crazy, but like every single message that a customer sends, that's an opportunity for you to close a sale. If they weren't interested in your item, not even 1%, they wouldn't take the initiative and send you a message. So even if they're 1% interested, they've made the first move. They've sent you an offer. Now it's up to you to close the sale, or at least, get some sort of back and forth, and then eventually close the sale. But, if you received no messages and no offers, and like you got off scot-free and you had a great day, I don't want that business.
Mhm.
I want the business where, like Jeff Bezos, his bell goes off 24 hours a day for sales. I want 24 hours a day offers and 24 hours a day messages.
Yep.
You know how rocking and rolling your business is if you have messages coming in 24 hours a day?
That's exactly right. That's everybody wants your product. And I'm looking at this right now. My list is check Seller Hub, manage the cases, manage the returns, answer all eBay questions and offers, send invoices for unpaid items, send offer to watcher. And I just send that out pretty much multiple times a day.
Yep.
Realistic cancellations was the most recent one that I added, and then launching the drafts. And here's the thing, like my wife knows that customer service stacks up. It's actually stressful. If you do it multiple times throughout the day, it's not stressful. If you wait till the end of the day, even with 1,000 items in your store, if you wait to the end of one day,
sure,
it can be overwhelming. And then you're going to go to sleep with 40 unanswered things. Like that's way worse than taking a few minutes during the day and handling. And if you don't have it, mine's pretty much the same every time. That's the only way you can do it. You can't think about what to do next. You have to have your list of customer service tasks.
Well, we're not even getting into customer service when there's a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
When there's a problem, you better be on that immediately.
Yeah.
Because if you're not on that immediately and the customer has to sit around for 5 or 10 minutes, they might hit you with a negative feedback. Yeah. They might hit you with a false item not described if you couldn't address it as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. Like every single industry, all the way up to the CEO of every single industry, customer service is number one.
Yeah.
Without customer service as the number one priority, they have no business. And if you're not treating your customer right, if you're not handling problems, if you're not putting out fires, if you're not doing everything possible to let the customer know that everything is okay, that's not a good business to run. And that comes all the way down to us, and that goes all the way up to the CEO of eBay. The customer service, customer is king, is number one.
That's right. And the CEO will answer a question. Like there's people there that will address that. And customer service is king. I'd say now, because there's so many messages, you try your best to answer the question. And this is something new. So I switched from thinking customers, okay, this is a pretty dramatic shift. But so I switched from thinking messages were annoying to giving the best answer I can. Mm-hmm. That's a very different analogy, right? Mm-hmm. Like, not a different mindset. Instead of just answering, because you can answer and you can also answer to the best of your ability. Mm-hmm. And it's a very different response from the customer. Like, wow, thank you for the quick response with what I needed. That's like a really, that never happens. In customer service, when you go and do something, it's rare. Yeah. It's rare. And if you get that experience, it's going to stand out.
Right. And, the other day you said that, in the Facebook group, I answer 6,000 questions a day. Yeah. I look at that as customer service.
Yeah.
Because all the people in the group are our customers. Yeah. So I go through every single day. I answer the questions to the best of my ability. And if I don't know the answer, I'll at least leave a like to let you know that I saw it. Yeah. But I try to answer every single question to the best of my ability because all you guys are customers. And it doesn't matter if there's 6,000 questions or 26,000 questions. All of those questions need to be addressed. And it's the same like eBay. I go in there, once every hour, once every 2 hours, because if I don't, then it stacks up. Like it could take me over an hour to answer all the questions on Facebook if I only go on there once a day. But if I go on there, every hour, every 2 hours, it takes 5 minutes and I knock them all out and we get started. Because just like a customer on eBay, I would never want to let any of the customers in the Facebook group stranded because they don't have the information that they need. So if I don't go in there and I leave them hanging until tomorrow and I don't check the group all night, what if there was a really important question there that one of the members had that I could have addressed, and it was important to them, important enough for them to ask, and now they know what to do and they know the proper channel to go on. But if I just went to sleep and say I'll catch them tomorrow, that's not a good customer experience.
I have a question, and I don't know if this relates to eBay or not, but with your lawn service, when people are doing weed control, how long does it take for weeds to grow? And then how can you do it so weeds never grow? I'm just looking at this like in your eBay store with not taking care of a problem.
Weeds are always going to grow, even if you put weed barrier down, like you were talking about. If a squirrel or a bird or the wind blows and it puts seeds on top of your weed barrier, you're still going to get weeds. You're just not going to get weeds that come from underneath the weed barrier. But the wind blows, there's always going to be weeds that come in on top on your rock or your mulch, which is going to grow weeds. So, it really depends on how much it rains, how fast the weeds are going to grow, and depends on the climate and where you are. But around here, like about a week. So we spray every time we do service. And, some places, they're not as prone to get weeds, but other places, like you go in there and after 10 days, the place looks like a foreclosure because like for whatever reason, their weeds just go tremendously fast. But like, that's the number one complaint in the lawn industry is weeds. So weeds need to be addressed every single time we go there. And I learned real quick, weeds by the mailbox and weeds by the front door will get you the most phone calls. Because that's when people come home, they check their mail, they see weeds, they're pissed off for the day, and they call you and let you know how mad they are. But like weeds in the corner, they don't care about those. But weeds by the front door and weeds by the mailbox, you'll hear about those. So you have to pay extra attention and spray those areas and make sure no weeds are going to come up there. And it's the same like eBay. eBay has certain places in your business that are more prone to accidents or concerns or, having to put fires out. And you have to know that and you have to get in front of that. So for us, mailbox, front door, and then after that, the pool deck. As long as those are covered, most people are cool.
So that's like questions, offers, and cases.
Right. Or, if your jeans show size 36-32, but they're 32-28, you have to list them correctly and get in front of that because that's customer service disaster ready and waiting to happen. So you have to make sure that you're listing it in the correct way, or seeing a spot but neglecting to mention it because to you maybe it's not a big deal and you're going to try to slide it past the customer. Like you're only giving yourself more customer service work to do down the line. You're opening up to probably a return. You're opening up yourself probably to an item not as described. If you get too many of those defects, you get a 5% final value fee penalty, or you can spray the weeds by the mailbox. Because either way, it's going to be a problem.
I'm trying to think here. I think that if somebody has an issue, they let you know they have an issue, and then you immediately respond, I apologize for that. We have free returns.
Right.
Maybe you missed it, right? Or maybe you didn't miss it. But if you say, I'm sorry, we have free returns, it's
right.
very, no one's going to leave you a negative feedback for that. It's really unlikely.
And even if they do, eBay saw you practice good customer service and eBay will take care of you.
Yeah.
So for any message, I just say, hey, apologize. If there's an issue, happy to accept it back anytime in the next 60 days. That's it. That's all you have to say. There's no emotion. There's no back and forth. There's no bickering. There's no trying to make a side deal. It's, hey, I apologize. If there is an issue, happy to accept it back anytime in the next 60 days. And at that point, if they do leave a negative feedback, call up eBay and say, hey, I have free returns. I offered them a free return, hassle-free return, as you guys have branded it. What can you do to help me out? They are going to saw that you practice good customer service, and they will take care of you as what? As good customer service to you.
Because we're the customer to them.
Correct.
Yeah, that is interesting, right? Most people don't think of themselves as a customer to eBay, and they're trying to look out to take care of us too. Like,
absolutely,
it sounds like everyone thinks eBay's just in it on their own, but they definitely take care of their sellers, especially if you have made the effort.
Sure, but a lot of people say, "Oh, they're always for the buyer," but it's the chicken or the egg. You could have all buyers on a platform, and it doesn't work. You can have all sellers on a platform, and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You need buyers and sellers in order for this to work.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the proactiveness of answering all the stuff early. And I would say that if you answer customer service questions 5 times a day versus once a day, you actually have more freedom. That sounds weird, right? Because it sounds like, why, if I do more work, I would have less freedom? I mean, I have more freedom, but it's easier. Now that I'm answering questions multiple times a day and comments once or multiple times a day, it's much easier. It's so difficult to wait until it builds up. It's insurmountable.
It's with everything. If you answer messages 5 times a day versus 1 time a day, you will make more sales.
Yeah.
You probably get 500 comments a day on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you don't answer those for 2 days, you're screwed.
Yeah, I know, you can't get to it.
And then by you answering those every single day, in what? You're going to get more sales, more views.
Yeah.
But if you never answer those, they're going to go, this guy doesn't care. Why am I going to watch his videos?
Yeah.
But just taking the time to drop a heart or say, thank you, or I appreciate you, or this and that. Now those are lifelong YouTube customers that are going to give you more views, that in return is going to help you monetize more. And then that's going to help you make more money. So your viewers are your customers on YouTube. If you don't answer your YouTube comments for a day and a half, now it becomes a whole task.
Mm-hmm.
Like now it becomes an hour and a half of you sitting there answering messages. And when that happens, you give half-ass BS responses because you have a day and a half to catch up on.
Yeah.
Rather than doing it the first time and giving good quality answers, you put much more effort into that response. So when people have a bunch of customer service, their responses degrade. But if you can chop it up and do it one at a time, or a couple at a time, more likely you're going to give a much more quality response.
Hannah's asking if people delay to answer because it's hitting them emotionally. I think so. If you have an emotional response, it takes you much longer to respond. If somebody says, hey, if your spouse says, why don't you take out the garbage? And you say, thanks for reminding me, it's gone. If you have an emotional reaction, though, that taking out the trash could ruin your whole evening. If somebody says they have a problem with your item and you just answer thank you with no emotion, you can answer immediately. It can take way longer. So I think that emotion slows down customer service. If you just think about, they want their item as soon as possible and as accurately as possible, it really takes, like, if I just think about, I get a question, right? Is it annoying, or does this question pertain to when they're going to get it and to confirm the accuracy of the listing? That's 99.9% of questions.
The emotional part, people always go to ignoring it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are emotional about their numbers because they don't know their numbers.
Yeah.
So they don't look at them. They ignore them and just hope that they're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you get customer service and like you don't know the answer, or you're too emotional on it, that's when your customer service gets neglected, just like your numbers do. And you just hope it goes away. Well, it's not going to go away. They're going to open up a return. And then if you get emotional about that, and if you don't respond to the return, or you fumble that, now you get a defect for case closeout seller resolution. So like these things that we're emotional about or we're not as confident in, those are clues for our business of stuff that we should spend more time on and or face head on, because a lot of people are not confident with their numbers and they just choose to move in the other direction or hide from it. But that's really doing the biggest disservice as possible to you and your business.
Thank you for listening to the Resars podcast with Tech and Sports and Daily Refinement. If you'd like to listen to the full episode, please check us out at patreon.com/the Resars podcast for all information, all our full-length episodes, over thousands of hours of coaching, and our Facebook mentorship group, which is $35 per month, just about $1 a day to help you get to the next level. We appreciate you guys. See you next time.